Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Mr. Optimistic. This week was rough on the body. It was really rough. But we're going to talk about a couple things today. Obviously, the importance of warming up as you watch me warm up, and what to do on the front squat. How to get better at the front squat, how to notice some flexibility issues on the front squat, and how to fix those. Because you'll see me mess it up towards the end. So anyways, starting off, this is the complex that I like to do. We do some strict snatch presses, just getting the wrist in the right position, snatch push presses to the overhead squat. I do about 5 of these. Typically, I don't do them weighted because I usually like to save the weight just for the full movements. Believe it or not, doing with just grabbing the barbell, getting the body warmed up, it's a little rough. It's a little rough to start. I like doing these because essentially you get to figure out how your body's doing while you're doing these. It's kind of a immediate crash course. Like these drop snatches I like to do. It's like, well, okay, bottom position's fine. All right, testing it out a little bit. If my lats are sore or if my traps are sore, then essentially what I would do is get a foam roller, start rolling those guys out, maybe do a couple of sets. If I feel things in, like, let's say the bottom of the snatch position, right? After I roll out, I would go to that position and then test it out, see if it got a little better. And I usually try to give myself 25 minutes or so to before we actually start the session, to get everything warmed up, because I used to be able to just jump in, like, hey, we start at 10, get in at 10, walk into the gym, grab a bar, just start going for it. Those days have passed. Those days have passed. Some days I can do it, but to be consistent and to have a successful day in training, that's something that is dead. But moving on forward, basically, when I try to do these positions, you just want to reinforce that good pattern. Really stick those landings, really feel the lock on the elbows, maybe jump on the bike if you're just completely cold. And usually you're supposed to feel very springy on the second set. Everything's supposed to be more oiled, moving more efficiently, and just kind of flowing. That's usually how things go. Some of these harder positions, like this SOT press is what we call them, is making sure your traps aren't rolled over, going forward, and your elbows aren't shooting forward. In the lockout, some people get a little confused and or have some inflexibility issues where you see how my elbows are pointing directly towards my ears, right? That's how you want to catch that lock position. If you rotate your elbows forward, right, then that bar will go forward. Same thing when your elbows rotate back, your elbows and the bar will go back. So working on these like heavier positions here, you see how my toes are getting up and have to step forward. That's how you do not want to do it. But this is one of the heavier weights I've done on this lower position, but you really want to try to get flat-footed and then drive that bar up to lock out that position. So that's definitely an area for opportunity for sure, but that's one of the heavier weights I've done in a while, so not too sad about it or anything like that. But as one of the harder positions I've been slowly getting better at as the months have been progressing. So I want to take this time really quick to kind of give you guys a body update. The body is pretty wrecked, I would say 6.5 to 7, but it makes sense because right now, at least during this week, we're heading towards maxes. The weights are getting heavier, the reps are getting less, and the complexes are getting heavier as well. So I just usually, kind of like I tell you, right, try to do some, implementing some bodybuilding workouts to kind of get a little bit jacked. Just get jacked for the summer, right? but I took about a week off of those so my body can like heal a little bit more. My right lat at the insertion at the bottom, or the middle of my back I should say, is really tight. It's like a baseball. It's just a ball of rubber bands all mangled up. I don't know if you guys ever experienced a pretty solid knot, but if you try to get that, rubbed out right, it's definitely very painful. Thankfully, being in this sport for as long as I have, that's exactly why I missed it. I'm not able to, you'll see me miss several of those because I'm not able to fully engage and lock out my right lat. It's why everything kind of goes forward. Very frustrating, especially when you're getting close to maxing out, right? But you just gotta push on sometimes. It's really, you can see on my face too, it's not very enjoyable. But so in going towards the lat, right? 3 of my favorite things to do when I feel any tightness on my lat is start with a tennis ball, roll on either on the floor with a tennis ball, or I try to get a little elevated on, just right next to a wall, and just kind of push on that knot and just kind of roll around on it for a couple of minutes or so, and try to do some just basic arm swings, try to get it all warmed up. I usually use resistant bands to kind of pull that knot in different ways, try to maneuver myself into a good position so I could break apart that knot. But if that doesn't work, I've also gotten a plate, balanced it so it's vertical, and use those boxes on my right to get into that knot and just kind of press on it and kind of slowly wiggle that knot out. So that helped pretty tremendously, and kind of helped me at least make a majority of my lifts this session. Nice. So segueing to the front squat positioning, right? You should be able to front squat in your clean position. There shouldn't be any additional space in terms of making your feet wider or compensating or anything like that, because that just means you have flexibility issues that just need to be addressed. So in terms of positioning, right, you want to pretend that there's a big hook in your chest cavity that's pulling your chest up, but you need to fill up that gap. You just did that with me with pressure in your abs. You need to tense up your abs. You need to think that your belly button is rising up with your chest. That's one of the cues that helped me and one of my coaches did in terms of keeping a solid vertical spine, right? So you'll see me warming up with 225. Not too bad, not too shabby. I was just very fatigued towards the end, but these are the ones that count, these heavier ones at 275, right? My coach in the back with the sweats, you can't really see him. It's Kyrus, amazing dude, very strong. Giving me those cues of keeping that chest up, engaging that core, and trying to sit back and drive up and get those hips through, right? You see how it's a struggle getting up, but for those who have done heavier squats, it's really a fight to keep that posture straight. But I would start implementing some heavier planks. If you have some flexibility issues, do zombie squats. Basically get the bar on your collarbone, straight arms, and then practice that positioning going down. Well guys, this is it for today as you see me finish up my front squats. But thank you so much for your time. Like the video if you like, subscribe if you want to follow my journey, comment down below, and then let me know what is the hardest positioning for you. Write about it in the comment section down below. Until then guys, I'll see ya.